Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and today we're doing a new radio replacement in this FJ Cruiser. In this install, we're going to show you how to remove this factory radio, head over to the bench, get everything wired up for the new Kenwood that we've decided to put in, and get everything reinstalled. Let's get started. Now in this install here today, we are going to be pulling this out, and like I said, we're installing a Kenwood in its place. We have steering wheel volume controls that we want to retain. We also have a factory aux down below that we also want to retain. So a couple of things for us to keep in mind as we get started here. First thing that we need to do is pull off kind of these side trim pieces. They will expose screws that will allow us to pop off this dash bezel. So if you put your fingers right down at the bottom, you're going to feel that there's a little Phillips there. Go ahead and get yourself a screwdriver. All right, so once those are removed, go ahead and just get these a nice little tug. Be very careful because you don't want to crack these. It has 3 clips up each side. Start at the bottom, just kind of give it a pull, and from there we have a Phillips on each side. Go ahead and remove those. Okay, so now the rest of this panel is really just held on with clips. Just be very careful. You can kind of get your fingers up underneath it. Go ahead and give it a tug. Now you can just leave it there, or you can just disconnect your harnesses here. Now just keep in mind, since we've disconnected this, you do have an airbag light there, so I would not recommend starting your vehicle with this disconnected, just to reduce the risk of tripping an airbag light on the dash. Okay, once that's out of the way, you're going to have 4 10mm bolts. We're going to have a socket here that we're going to go ahead and use to remove those. Okay, once those are all removed, grab that radio, pull it on out. Then as you tip that down, you can disconnect your antenna and then your miscellaneous harnesses here. Just press the tabs in and they should come on out. Just like so. Okay, there's our radio. Now, we can't get rid of this because we will need these brackets for our aftermarket radio. So let's head over to the bench now and begin prepping our new wiring harness. All right, so here on the bench, some of the parts that you're going to need for our radio install today. We're going to go with this Kenwood DDX26BT Bluetooth doubled-in radio as our chosen radio replacement for FJ Cruiser. To make that work in this vehicle, we're going with this Crux wiring harness adapter. This Crux adapter is pretty cool because it comes pre-programmed with steering wheel controls, and it also retains our factory aux jack, which we're going to want to do. If you want to see this unboxing, we'll have a card up above as well as a link down in the description for more information. We're also going to need a dash kit, which we've picked up the 95-8202 by Metra. And then finally here, since we're retaining the aux input, we've also picked up just this quick 3.5mm male jack to RCA female jack adapter. And then the last thing we're going to do is this cool little USB adapter. It's going to take the place of one of the links on our switch panel below the radio, and so we can install a USB input for our radio. We're going to go ahead, like I said, and start wiring everything up, matching color for color with our chosen radio's wiring harness, as well as our wiring harness adapter for our vehicle. We'll get started. Essentially all we need to do is strip both ends of both these wiring harness adapters and begin matching color for color. Now we've chosen to use the soldering method for all our connections here today, but you can use butt connectors if needed, or even a better option if you like to crimp is using crimp caps. This harness adapter is pretty cool because, like I said, it comes pre-programmed with steering wheel controls, so we don't have to manually set anything up. The only thing we need to do is set our dip switches, which will indicate which vehicle we're running, as well as which radio that we're pairing this to. And we'll show you here in a minute how to set those up. So first thing we're going to do, like I said, we're going to strip both ends and begin matching color for color and getting everything soldered up. Alright, so we got those all connected and soldered up here. Now we made sure we put our heat shrink on before we made our soldered connections, because as soon as these cool, we'll actually move the heat shrink up and over those connections and shrink them down with the heat gun. Now you are probably saying, oh wait, you're not done yet. Well, we didn't hook up our speaker wires, which is our white, gray, green, and purple wires with positive and negative. And the reasoning is, if we weren't running an aftermarket amplifier in this install today, which we'll show in a different video, all we do is just finish connecting up color for color in our speaker wires. Since we are actually running an external amplifier, which, like I said, we'll be showing in a separate video, we're not going to hook up our regular speaker outputs for our Kenwood. Instead, we're going to be running our own amplifier and using the RCA outputs on the back of the radio, running signal to an amplifier, and then what we're going to do from the amplifier speaker outputs is run that amplified signal back into our speaker inputs on our wiring harness adapter, which essentially takes that amplified signal, sends it to the doors, to the dash, to the exterior tweeters. So we won't be using this. Again, if you're not using an external amplifier, just go ahead and continue matching colors up. But if you want to check out that amplifier installation video, when it's ready, we'll throw a card up in the video here in the corner, as well as a link down in the description, and you can check that one out from start to finish. It'll be pretty cool. Other things that we've done here in this wiring harness adapter, you'll notice that we have a couple of wires on our red wire. Well, rather than just focusing on red to red, we also added a secondary red. Now we're going to power a backup camera using this, and so I kind of left that lead off in case we need an accessory down the road. So it's just going to be optional to throw a butt connector on there. You don't have to do that, but I like to keep options open, as well as the solid blue wire. Solid blue wire usually is your powered antenna circuit. Our Kenwood doesn't have a solid blue wire or a powered antenna, so we didn't hook it up to anything on the Kenwood. We just tied it into our accessory power there, and that'll just ensure that amplifier on our antenna circuit receives the power it needs to perform properly for AM and FM. We also grounded our parking brake wire. You can still do that on Kenwoods. And we also added on our amplifier turn-on wire this blue-white. In addition, just hooking it up normally, we added just a lead off so we can add an amplifier down the road as well, just so it's easy and accessible. Now the last wire that we haven't hooked up is our blue-yellow wire, which will go to our blue-yellow wire on our steering wheel control adapter cable. So this one will strip and actually solder into this. We won't be using this part because this is for a different radio type. Our Kenwood requires the blue-yellow wire to be hooked up, and we're going to do it through this harness. We're going to go ahead and move the heat shrink up and over our connections and get those shrunk down. Okay, so we're all done here, got everything buttoned up, all taped up, ready to go for our install. This end plugs into our radio. This end plugs into the main wiring harness plugs back behind the factory radio. We have our steering wheel control adapter, which we'll cover dip switches here in a minute. And then, like I said, because we're doing an aftermarket amplifier, we ran our speaker output from our amplifier here in this 9-conductor cable. That'll go up into our main harnesses and then to the doors. This is our aux input. This will go to the AV input on the back of our Kenwood. Now for our dip switches here, we're going to go ahead and jump to the back page of our Crux manual. Now since we're using a Kenwood, we need for the first 4 switches, because they're labeled 1 through 8, 1 through 4 for Kenwood, we need to do off, on, on. And that's our sequence. So what we did, looking here, is we did off, on, just like that. And then the second set of switches, since these are all for Toyota/Scions, we need to do off, on for 6 through 8. So off, on. So we have our dip switches all set, ready to go. Okay, so here at the bench, we went ahead and transferred over our brackets off our factory radio here. They actually just bolt right up. So we use 2 to hold the bracket, and then 1 to hold the dash kit. So the dash kit fits up and over. They're little wingies, and they just fit up and over the middle bracket. And I actually got a file out and filed it just so it would have a perfect fit. So it's nice and flush there. Same thing with the other side. All good to go. Now if you had more threaded screws and you wanted to put one up top and one here, you're welcome to. But with these 3, it's nice and solid and it holds the dash kit just fine. Let's head back over to the FJ and begin getting everything installed. Alright, so we're ready to get our radio now reinstalled here in the dash. Now with our wiring harness, the cool thing is it just plugs into the 3 factory plugs, just like so. And then we'll tuck everything just back here in the dash so it's nice and safe and out of the way. So we're going to plug in our harness. We do have RCAs here because we're running an amplifier. If you want to check that video out, we'll make that available in the description as well. Make sure you plug in your Bluetooth mic if you have one. We also have our antenna adapter. Now down here, just at the bottom of the frame here, there's a USB, a little flush mount that we did. We'll throw a part number in the description. It actually replaces one of the blanks that we had unused in our switch panel down here below, and our USB plugs right in, and then it just plugs right into the radio, which is super cool. Just a cool little modification. And then our aux input we're retaining because our Crux wiring harness adapter has the little harness here that'll plug right into the back. So let's go ahead and get everything connected to the radio and the radio in the dash. Now next here, we're going to get our lower bezel. Get this all plugged in. Okay, before we finish putting everything up, let's go ahead and make sure everything works. Steering wheel controls are working, which is awesome. Let's go ahead and finish reassembling the dash. Alright, that's about it for this install. If you have any questions about what we did here, go ahead and post a comment below. Thanks guys for watching the channel. Be sure to check the description. We'll have an amplifier install video, we'll have a backup camera video, and front speaker install video for this FJ as well, in case you want to keep the video series going. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you in the next video.